Welcome ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be doing a short, not in full detail, of Gundam Breaker 3 and Gundam Breaker, well, new Gundam Breaker, which should have been Gundam Breaker 4, but it wasn't used by the same devs apparently. Now, what I want to talk about is gameplay, graphics, a little bit of the storyline, and of course, what the main draw in the game is: customization. Now, when we're looking at the gameplay, we're talking about how well it plays, how smooth it plays, if it has any glitches, if it has any lag, and unfortunately, New Gundam Breaker is riddled with them. Granted, it's a brand new game that haven't been hammered out because it's a new group that made it. Unlike Gundam Breaker 3, which has had 3 games to really get it done right. I have no idea how Gundam Breaker 1 and 2 works because I was a lot younger when they came out. I couldn't afford it when the second one came out. And when the third one came out, I had to wait until it got an English translation before I decided to even pre-order it. Now, with that said, I still played Gundam Breaker 3 because I ended up ordering it off of PlayAsia. And I ended up playing the beta for this game, New Gundam Breaker, as well as the full game. Now, both games look beautiful, like I said before, but here's the difference. Gundam Breaker 3 is a lot smoother. You can cancel out your attacks to come into more combos. You get a full beat 'em up experience when you're playing that game. Now, Gundam Breaker 3, New Gundam Breaker is being worked on. The patch is being made right now, so I can't exactly tell how it's going to change. They may, even because of some of the sales that's been taken and then people buying Gundam Breaker 3, change it to be more like that game. I don't know. I'll have to check for the rest of this month and next month when they release the first patch. Now, they have a lot of suits that you could use, and the suits are very important when it comes to customization because you're able to put in moves that they wouldn't normally have from the show or from other games, depending on where they pulled the mobile suits from. And in Gundam Breaker 3, you had a lot more freedom to customize. Yes, you had to grind the hell out of the moves because they do not raise levels by you completing the match, but how many times you use the move. That's the EX moves, the super moves, and everything like that. Everything had to be used a certain amount of times to be able to upgrade and be able to be used by a different suit that normally doesn't have it. Those are perfectly fine. Everybody loved that about the game. You had to work for everything that you wanted. In New Gundam Breaker, everything is locked. Nobody likes that. Like, veterans really didn't like that. I tell you that, veterans really didn't like that. And me, I'm a semi-veteran because, like I said, I haven't had all the game experience on that. But I do realize that the game is still fun in its own way. If you do not compare it to Gundam Breaker 3, it's a fun game as long as it's working properly. Like, one thing that can improve it is if it ends up allowing you to cancel out of your attacks so you could go into another attack in a certain way. Now, moving on to a different part of the same part of gameplay is Gundam Breaker 3 had a mode called Bounty Hunter where you could fight somebody's customization. All the work they put in, all the effort that they put in, all the love and care that they put in. But you do not ever get to fight another human player. Now, this is where New Gundam Breaker shines over Gundam Breaker 3 is that all the love and care that you put into the game becomes really stale if you do not have an opponent that you can outthink, that you can outmatch, that you may even lose to. It's all about the thrill of it. You cannot get your full satisfaction of fighting somebody that's not responsive. Now, like I said before, if the game didn't lag, it would be a hell of a lot better. Both games are visually beautiful. There are differences with the combo systems, and honestly, I think New Gundam Breaker as a series will get better from here on out. Because just think about this. My DBZ friends, you know exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to this. Budokai and Tenkaichi, they both looked beautiful when they first came out. They both seemed to be good when they came out, but when the second and the third came out, it's shown how bad those games were. They were extremely bad in comparison to what they became. And now, this is what I'm hoping that this game becomes. This is what I pray for that, because I do not want mechs to be stonewalled by region just because of one bad sale. If they fix it, if they improve the gameplay to a certain level that vets and newcomers will love, because I recommend this game to newcomers. They I recognize. Let me correct myself. I recommend this game to newcomers if they fix the lag, if they fix the bugs and the glitches, and how slow it is to start loading up when you're in the main menu. You know what? I'm rambling a little bit right now. I can link you to somebody that's professional that'll be able to give you even more details. I said I was going to keep this short. Okay, moving on to the story mode. To be honest, both of them are kind of a drag. I At some points I don't even really watch both of them, and the only time I play it out is when I'm recording it so everybody can see it. Because here's the thing, the story mode I do not care for on either part, but I do love the graphics and the in-game characters, the models, the suits. I love seeing the visuals of them. And in Gundam Breaker 3, they really do went above and beyond when it comes to that, because your suit, every bit of it, the way that you customize it, the way that you colored it, the way that you put little details like maybe scratches, uh, bends, whatever you could do with the customization on there, you see it. Your Gundam's moving, everything's flowing by smoothly. Now going back to New Gundam Breaker, you do see that kind of, but it's mainly the NPCs and the people in the other story that you get to see the most part. The focus isn't on your Gundam, which really puts a sour taste in some people's mouths, but it's still visually beautiful in either case. Next time, focus more on the player's Gundam. That would be good, because in the last one you get to see the transformation and everything that your character has. And now that I think about it, New Gundam Breaker did have a pretty decent spin when it came to their story mode. It was a dating sim. I don't know why they did it, but you know what? Fuck it, whatever. It could go on with that. Now, what could have made it a little bit more interesting is if the characters weren't one-dimensional. Now, what could have been really interesting is if they used the dating sim for whatever characters are being used will unlock certain Gundams to show up in their missions. And now, the more difficult you ramp up the stuff from easy to hard, would actually unlock even more Gundams to show up in your stuff, drop in rare items and stuff That would have been good. Speaking about that, they both drop items, but only one of them has it a little bit more effective than the other. Gundam Breaker 3, whenever you collect an item, they automatically go to your inventory. New Gundam Breaker, you get a 5 collection that you have to drop it into a box. Now, what could fix this, and this is my opinion only, is if you end up having 5 parts, you could switch automatically during gameplay, just like you could do right now. But if you have 5 in there, the other parts that you pick up should automatically go to your inventory. That way you have a way to collect and a way to switch in on a dime at the same time. I don't know if it would work, but that's my own opinion. Okay guys, we come to the part of the section that we're going to talk about customization. Now here's where the dilemma is. Most of that stuff could be really forgiven if customization was on top of its game. New Gundam Breaker is a huge step down compared to Gundam Breaker 3. But the thing is, there's free DLC that's coming out that's gonna have way more Gundams and mobile suits than the previous games, all of them, as well as a few new stages to end up entertaining yourself. But that does not take away from being able to customize the way that you want. Like I said earlier, all the moves are locked into each one, well, each part. Gundam Breaker 3 allowed you to earn stuff, master it, and then put it onto whatever suit that you wanted. There is a huge mistake that happened when they decided to lock into it. The frames that they add, the frame skeleton that they added, that's okay. It's whatever on that part. Do not lock in the EX moves. Do not lock in the special moves. Do not lock in the ultimate moves. This is where everybody is having a problem with. The whole game can be forgiven and waited for the patch if they did not lock in everything. If you build something in Gundam Breaker 3 to be a full glass cannon, you could go with that, and it can look like a big tank if you wanted to. Now in Gundam Breaker, well, New Gundam Breaker, the big tank is gonna be a big tank. The way that it looks determines what you can expect from each part that's in there. Now I know not everybody is going to study each one of the each one of their specials, but it is going to correlate to whatever part that actually has it. There's going to be no surprises when it comes to that. You're not going to run into something that has a beam that just hits you from far away with something that's meant to be close range with a part that only has close range. You're not going to see it. There's no variety when it comes to that. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad game. You could still mix and match. You could customize the color and everything. They need to add in a few more things with it, but that's further down the line. The problem with the vets and people that feel, I'm not going to say fully ripped off, but feel like there's not enough, is that they've drawn back on the customization. Even if they weren't going to improve on the customization, they should have left it be the way it was. And that's a personal opinion, and unfortunately, that's a personal opinion that's really affecting the game sales in the States. No, take that back. It's affecting the sales even in Japan itself. It's kind of a wake-up call if Bandai really wants to focus on the fan base. There's lots of people that's buying the game, finding out that it's as lacking as it is in customization, returning it, and buying Gundam Breaker 3. both games are good. One game you just have to try a little bit harder for, especially if you want to have the next game to come, well, the next gen to come back out. And that's kind of where I'm at with the game. I'm on the fence with it. It's a fun game when you're able to get into a fight without lag. The story mode, not really thrilled about. But the game itself, I'm having fun with. As long as I'm able to find some people online that I can fight, as long as I'm able to collect the pieces I want. Unfortunately, I cannot mix and match. I just can't. I can't take something that has a certain move and put it onto a different Gundam. What could solve it is if they still had the merge feature. And if they had the merge feature in New Gundam Breaker, what it could act like is if you take a piece, merge it with something else, and make that piece look like the one that you want. And all the stats, all the moves and everything will go with that part. That way it could shake it up a little bit. People will be surprised on how they do that. Now, the builder part, I could talk about this part, is really disappointing. Like, they do not allow it to add in anything special, like no new attacks. You're not going to get any surprises with that. You can get a beautiful looking Gundam to a certain extent. And what I mean by that is you're not going to see something like I did before as a thruster, as a faceplate, or something goofy like that. You're just not going to see it. My conclusion of the game is it's a middle ground. It's good, but it's not so good. There's things that it does right, and there's things that it does horribly wrong. My personal opinion is either wait for a price drop, wait until they fix it up with a patch, and to keep up with everybody, just follow somebody that does Gundam Breaker, well, New Gundam Breaker, to find out what the new information is that comes up. Anything that helps out with that game, pushing the company, Bandai, to fix up everything that they did to line up with its core audience. And the core audience is very accepting, but they're not going to accept a half-baked game sometimes.